If you haven't been keeping up, Solo Leveling Arise has been crazy generous recently, and you know, they've always been pretty generous, I'd say, but they've been exceptionally generous recently. And one of the things that they gave out is a a legendary selector here. So we are going to cover the best to choose from. Post down below what you wound up choosing. I don't know that there's truly a wrong answer. Maybe there's some that are less important or less good than others, obviously, but I don't know that there's a truly wrong answer. Depends on what you have, what you don't have, what you're going for. Also, they have the loyalty event going on, which is dropping other things we'll briefly touch on, like the selector for the character, which I'm going to cover first, I guess, and then also the weapon. So there's kind of a lot here. So hope you guys enjoy. Like I said, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. If you want more free rewards, all you have to do is support me through the creator program linked down below in the description. Here's a link, or a look, excuse me, at some of the things that we've gotten so far this season. This is the Creator Plus M program. So anyway, 500 Essence Stones here with 200,000 gold. SR weapon designs, 4 of those with 500 Essence Stones. And when I finish this video and submit it, I'll be getting more rewards as well. And all I have to do is click this button and I can send it to all of you guys as well. So all you have to do, again, is click that support link down below in the description. I've already sent this, so it's not going to go to anybody, but all you got to do is click that down below in the description and you guys will be able to get one of these. So keep that in mind, and all that fun stuff. So also, if you wanted to join this program, you can through the link down below in the description as well. By the way, I did get confirmation right here. I forgot to look this up. We are getting 100 rune fragments and 100 powder blessings as well for supporting this video. So make sure you do that through the link down below in the description. All right, so I'm not going to cover this here. I believe they're giving another one of these out. I haven't used mine. I did a separate video covering this selector weapon for Janu, and one of the things I'd said in that video, and this will apply to the next ones too, is that you can sit on this until you're certain that you need it and certain that it'll make a huge impact. It won't expire, although I don't think this will get updated where newer weapons come out. Like there's a new staff coming out. I don't think that'll be added retroactively to this. That's just why it says volume 1. But nonetheless, you can sit on this until you need it. So I'm not going to cover it, but I wanted to start off by talking about the hunter weapons. Some of these are extremely good. The good news is you can craft these. I mean, they're all good for their own reasons. The good news is you can craft these, so it's not like a huge deal, but it is cool to get a freebie. Also fun that the min one is on the icon, but not actually an option. What? That's kind of funny. I also like how lately they now show you what your versions of these are, if you have them, how enhanced they are, etc. Kinda, because mine are not level 10. I assume this is level 100, but just wrongly abbreviated as a glitch. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this pretty quick. I really like the ones in here that enhance damage, like the Han Semi one. I believe this one enhances damage too. The Korean text there definitely glitched out. Let's get out of here because it's just broken. Increases ultimate damage for the team members. You can use that if you want to, but I also really like the Silvermane one. It's kind of broken in my opinion. He just does so much damage, so I'm personally gonna pick that, but it depends what you have and what you're looking for. If you've got A5 Silvermane, which I'm going to cover in a second here, then I do think you probably should go for that. Again, I don't know that there's a wrong answer. It just depends what you're looking to do. Also, Mireille, giving her weapon A5 is going to be massive. It's going to be nasty because of the extra power gauge bonus and then the extra crit bonus there too. So that's another one I would consider, but I'm going to take Silvermane, and here's why, because I'm actually taking Silvermane here. So I wonder if it'll show me mine. Yeah, okay, this is more accurate than the other screen. As you see here, I don't need a few of these characters. They're older characters or characters that are targeted more, like Mireille, because she was so good. I could use the third dupe on Han Semi. It would be nice if it showed me what that would be here, but I don't know what it is. But I know that I could use it. Typically 3 and 5 are really strong. And so with that being the case, I would like more of the dark girls on the top, but Silvermane is the target. A5 on him is massive. I like the character profiling that they have on the side too. Also, this is a weird glitch, but okay. Yeah, Silvermane A5 is massive, and he is, in my opinion, the strongest dark DPS in the game. There may be stipulations that you can maybe make another character peak higher, but Silvermane for me, he's just so strong. So he's the one I'm taking there. He's going to be the one I take with the weapon too. I want to get as many of the weapon advances as possible, and so I'm going to grab it right now too. And we're going to be in a great place. Although I would, say that you can grab these ones if you don't have them, but I wouldn't personally do that. All right, let's grab this. This one isn't as important though. because you can craft these whenever. It's not a huge deal. All right, so now to the meat and bones of the video, where we're going to talk about the selector. This is where things are kind of fun. I'm going to get out of this menu. We're actually just going to go over to the codex, which is something I haven't touched in a while. Where the hell? Here it is. So codex, I am really bad at coming into these menus and just kind of refreshing this stuff. Blessing stones, legendary blessing stones. As you see, I only have a couple because a few, excuse me, because I've said this a lot. Like, I have spent money on the game. I just don't spend a ton. Like, I will typically buy a $10 pack here or there. So like, people ask me like, why do you spend money but you're not at a certain level that other players that create content are at? And I'm like, I'm not spending as much. And then also, frankly put, like, if you're gonna try to compare me to like my guy Payne, he's like living and breathing this game. I can't do that. I don't have the ability to do that. So huge shout out to him and I just respect his dedication. He's so awesome. And so like, for me personally, I have a lot of options. The whole reason I brought that up is I've got a lot of options. I don't have a lot of the SSRs here, and maybe some of you guys are in the same position as me. Maybe you have more, right? Or maybe you've had better luck with with fusions than I have too. That's another factor. So we're gonna go one by one to also refresh my memory on some of this, to be completely blunt with you. In team fight mode, team members damage taken decreases by 8%. That's solid. I'm not really looking for more survival stuff for the most part. Penalty quest survival. Speaking of survival, when you successfully use extreme evasion 5 times, your defense will increase. That is solid too, but I don't really think you need that. When the user enters a stage, they gain shield equal to 35% of their max HP for 60 seconds. I actually really like this one. I really like this one because there's no proc condition on it. You just get it for 60 seconds. And with a strong Jinu, with good buffs, good weapons, good blessing stones for the attack plus stones, I think you could grab this and get great use out of it, but I wouldn't choose it for myself, but I think you can get great use out of that. I really like the next couple here. We Are One, I like a ton. If there are 3, I'm gonna just say 3 because I typically only use this with 3. If there are 3 support members with the same element on the team, it increases Sung Jinu and the support members attack, defense, and HP by an additional 5%. They're also getting the 5 if there are 2. You can get this to trigger with 5 or with 2, excuse me, for just the 5%, but I like to get the 10%. Very strong bonus there with good artifact sets, particularly with a lot of like additional attack, defense, blah 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 for the flat stat gain. Swift Strike, this is one I really like. When you use extreme evasion successfully, your damage increases by 16% for 5 seconds. I think this is extremely strong. It's very easy, very cheap, and then also you get the added bonus of it's triggering when you're using an extreme evasion, which is also, you know, typically paired with the shadow step. So you can I got a call there, my bad. So you can double dip a little bit with shadow step and with this as well, but it's easier to get because shadow step could be on a cooldown or something like that. So long story short, in my opinion, that's extremely strong. Speaking of shadow step, extreme evasion, blah blah, this is another one that wants to basically work with shadow step because it teleports you behind the opponent. This is good in that situation, but this feels like a worse version of Swift Strike because it's dependent on being behind them. There is no timer on it, but Swift Strike just seems easier to proc for me. I wouldn't personally grab Assassin's Efficiency. Also, another thing to consider is if you have some of these at the purple rarity, maybe you don't want to grab the legendary one. Maybe you want to grab something you haven't been lucky enough to grab in purple, so you can just kind of bypass that. For me, I have all of them at purple apparently, except for the last couple that released, so there's that. Fatal Strike decreases break gauge when you land a crit. I like that, but I don't like it enough to grab it here. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I haven't used Fatal Strike since probably around launch when I needed it before I got pulverized. Once I got pulverized, I pretty much just replaced using that entirely. You can use that and pulverize, but there's like a cheeky build where you use that, you know, perception, excuse me, pulverize. That's just doing too much for me. I'd rather just lean into other stuff. Legendary weakness detection, in my opinion, is one of the best ones you can grab here, so keep that in mind. This got buffed massively, and so I think it's actually pretty good. I actually don't take this off. I use it pretty much for every piece of content. I did a video on it prior to it getting buffed, and it was kind of funny because it was still all right. It was better than it sounded in practical use, particularly versus story-based content. So I think that it's useful. I have it on, and now that they gave us the extra 2 slots, you don't have to take it off, so I have it there. Swiftness I like a lot too. It gives you an extra dash period, and then also gives you more dashes by resetting the cooldown. This is a fun one to grab if you've already got what is it, speed? Is it speed? Yeah, so you can use speed and that together. That could be fun. You can use that with Swift Strike. That could be fun. But the main problem with this is that, you know, Shadow Step does have its own cooldown. So while you're getting dashes, you can move faster, you can evade more. That's kind of what's going to happen there, which is why I like it with Swift Strike, because it'll just proc more often, right? Cooldown is 10 seconds. That's not all that long. So it's a fun one, though. Double-edged sword, I do have this. Just helps you do more damage. You got to be careful with this one, though, because in team fight mode, you can get your teammates nuked. Boss Slayer, damage dealt to bosses increases, but your cooldown of dash increases. So there's combinations where you could do that with like swiftness, basically, to offset the downside of this. It's a good one. It does buff your damage a ton in a lot of content, actually. So keep that in mind. But there is a hefty price, but that's not a huge price if you are better at managing that, or if you just flat out use something like swiftness. Chains of Blood gives a fat attack increase. Your attack damage increase is equal to 30% of your lost HP ratio, but your damage taken also increases. It makes you take more damage permanently, and then when you get a big hit, say like sometimes the opponent, because you don't invest in defense typically in the game outside of artifacts, sometimes the opponent will hit you for like half your life or something like that, and you're gonna gain 30% of the half. So it can spike a lot, but it's very dependent on you taking big hits. Once upon a time, I had it very highly on my tier lists, but I've kind of moved away from it personally, but it's still extremely strong. Demon Slayer is a fun one, increases your MP, recover 5 MP every second. This is a fun one to kind of cheese the boss that drains your MP if you wanted to do that, but he's not all that hard in the first place if you know his pattern and stuff like that. You can also pair this with Reawakening, which I'll talk about in a moment, but I probably wouldn't grab the legendary. Wouldn't grab the legendary for this either. It's all right, but I just wouldn't grab it. It's one where you could pair it with Chains of Blood and you can kind of double dip. You can double dip because you're going to get hit pretty hard pretty consistently with Chains of Blood too. You know what you do? You run Conquer of Adversary, Chains of Blood, Double-Edged Sword, all that stuff just to make you get nuked and then hit back hard. That's what it is. Wolf Assassin makes you just kind of run through regular content, not a big deal. Legendary Pulverize is pretty great, but you can kind of push through with heroic rarity. I will say there's a fat jump. What is this? 24? 18? Ooh, that's a fat jump. Oh, that's a fat jump. That's huge. Going up to 30 is huge. 30 is huge. I may argue this is one of the best possible ones. It's not even close to. I think that one. So like I also use weakness, but I also don't sometimes. They're both like S tier in my opinion. Camouflage, not one I've ever liked. I don't really like that one at all personally. I just never really found a use for it. I'm not even gonna bother with it. 12% attack and then defense. This is one that I use a good bit for 6 seconds. That's good. You get more defense decrease, which is the main thing that this gives. It's just kind of like a buffer to Shadow Step because Shadow Step winds up replacing it, but if you happen to miss it, that's good. Also, the attack reduction is solid too because it decreases the opponent's attack. So it's one that you plug in, but it's not like a primary one. Sharp Perception increases your critical hit rate by 3% for 8 seconds when your attack lands. This one can snowball kind of crazy. It's extremely strong with a crit bonus weapon like Plum Sword. So it's really good in my opinion for that. I've recently started using it because I did get the heroic version and I up until recently, see it's new. Up until recently I didn't have it and I wasn't going to use the base one. So that's another good one. Reawakening, one of the best ones you can choose, decreases your skill cooldowns by 20%. Kind of crazy. I typically like to pair this with the Demon Slayer one. You don't have to, but what happens is you start running out of MP a good bit if you're not making sure to use the attacks in between as much, but it's extremely strong. It can help you break opponents faster and things like that, set up more debuffs on the opponent, just whatever you need to do. It's very strong. Mana Rampage, another one that's very, very strong, but you would want to pair it with Demon Slayer to offset the effects of it. Increases your attack, but your mana consumption goes up. 16% flat attack, basically for no cost, is very strong. Monarch Domain, kind of whatever. Increases shadow. Like shadows just need a buff, period. So yeah, I mean they do decent damage with that. Their damage, I've seen testing with it. Their damage spikes a good bit, but I don't really care much. This one's kind of unnecessary because if you've got, I mean, honestly, if you've got the base rarity, you're good, to be honest, because it's more about the revival. The healing is good. It's more about the revival, but but I think you don't need to grab it. Speed here, we already kind of covered it. Increases your speed, dash cooldown goes down. Speed is good just for general movement and in the first place, so solid one there. Casca Steel Fangs, kind of whatever, but the good news is I don't have to judge these ones as harshly. They made a very smart decision adding those extra survival slots, because there was no way these were gonna get used, and I'm sure they saw that in the data. There was no way to use these. Like, there was no reason to put these on, because if faced with the opportunity, with the timer in a game, by the way, if faced with the opportunity between doing more damage or taking less damage, you have to choose doing more. This is basically expert equip set, kinda. No, not expert. What, executioner, right? Executioner. When attacking an enemy who has, if this was expert, my god. When attacking an enemy who has 70% or less of their life, deals extra damage. So it's just basically half of that, pretty much. I think that one's what, 30%. I have not checked executioner since launch. I'm not gonna lie. We moved away from that one super fast. The damage you take will decrease by 50 and your defense will increase when your HP is 30% or less. This is a solid one when you're low on HP. This is one that I would pair with Chains of Blood if I needed to do that. Increasing your HP. I actually used this semi recently, the purple one, to get me through a piece of content. Just having more life was nice. Also, having more life can be nice with something else, like once again Chains of Blood, that is procced on how much life you have. But all in all, to answer which one because sitting on this one you can sit on this if you wanted to do that, maybe do your crafting and stuff, see what you get. But when they add a new one, I'm pretty sure it's not going to change. What I would grab here, if I'm being honest, is probably Pulverize. I think I'm grabbing Pulverize because 30% is massive. The break effectiveness, and then also the damage. Like, I think I'm grabbing that, but there's some really strong ones. We Are One, legendary, 10%. I like that a lot. I really like Sharp Perception, Reawakening, and Bloodlust. Those are all utility ones that work really well depending on your set. Actually, you can use Reawakening in like any situation. It's just good. Weakness Detection is good, but there's a lot of options. So ultimately, post down below what you guys are going to choose. I'm very interested to know what you guys are deciding on, and stay tuned because, like I said, I will be covering the game a ton in the next update.